Hi there, my name is Ash Alberg and I am the person behind From Field to Skin, which is chronicling my adventures in the Canadian fibre shed. The primary focus of this project will be in the form of interviews with different mills and fibre producers and hunters and natural dyers and other folks who are involved in that direct source work of textiles and textile production in Canada. But I wanted to give a little bit of context before we just kind of jump right into the interviews. So yeah, the primary focus will be these interviews, and with the magic of technology, then there will be some that are done in person, but there will also be quite a few that are done using FaceTime or Skype or Gmail Hangouts or whatever we can use so that I'm able to speak to as many people as possible, regardless of where they are in relation to me. I'm based out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is right in the center of Canada. It's also in the south. And Canada is a really huge country. It is the second largest country in terms of landmass. And if I wanted to go to the next big city, it would be a 6-hour drive going west. And if I wanted to go to Toronto, it's 3 days driving through the Canadian Shield. So it's not always that easy, and it's definitely not super affordable to go and travel all over Canada. And so with that in mind, I wanted to figure out a way of being able to chronicle the Canadian fibre shed and the makers who are part of this fibre shed, regardless of where they are. So if somebody's up in Nunavut, I still want to talk to them and find out, what is that process of what does your fibre shed look like when you're up in the Canadian North and it is freezing and you don't have a growing season. So fibre shed as a kind of a movement grew primarily out of California, and it's kind of where the headquarters is based. And because it's California, it's a very different climate from what most of Canada looks like, and definitely what the Canadian North looks like. And so it's primarily focused on farming, so on wool production and on plant-based production, so cotton and stuff like that. And we do have that in Canada, and so that will definitely be part of this, but we are also a very different climate. We have different growing seasons. We have much more reduced growing seasons for the most part. And so our fibre shed involves things like wool and cotton and hemps and linens, but it also includes things like furs and skins. And so that's going to be part of this conversation too, is how do you do that in a way that is responsible and ethical? And for a lot of it, it's also going to be talking about what are the traditional practices that are being carried on, because those are the ways that we can do this in the most sustainable way. And that's kind of the whole goal of the Fibre Shed project, is reducing your carbon footprint with clothing and with textiles. The textile industry and the fashion industry is the second largest pollution producing industry in the world. It's crazy how much waste we produce through the process of making clothing. And so if we want to reduce that footprint, if we want to make this a sustainable thing, and we want to encourage people to be finding out, who is in their local region, who can they reach out to easily if they want to pick up yarn for a new project, or they want to pick up some leather in order to make a new winter coat, or they want to pick up furs so that they can line their parka, or put something around the wrist of their mittens so that when it's -40 the wind isn't getting through and freezing their fingers. So that's what I'm hoping that this project does, is it connects people in a way, and that it also allows us to start having these conversations more, and especially from a Canadian perspective, because we do have a really unique perspective, and doing that in a way that recognizes all the different folks who are from Canada and live in Canada and have settled in Canada. I'm a white settler living on Treaty 1 territory. What does that mean when I am going and talking to people within my fibre shed? So I'm really excited about the various ways that this project can grow. I don't totally know what it's going to look like yet, but I do know that we're going to have interviews. There's going to be a map, so that you can check out and see, okay, well, this is where I am in this Google map, and look, here's all these different places that are near me, and here's some contact information for them. And then also I'm a knitwear designer, so there's going to be bits of patterns that I design, not bits of, there will be full patterns that I design using fibers from the Canadian fiber shed. And so those will also be included in this project. And so I'll talk a little bit about those yarns as I'm working with them. And I'm hoping that for myself, it increases my awareness about the qualities of different breeds of sheep and other animals that we use in order to make yarn. You know, what does bison fur look like once you spin it up and start knitting it into something, and what does alpaca do when you blend it with you know, some Angora goats and some Shetland sheep. So I'm excited about that for my own practice, and I'm hoping that it also inspires people to kind of branch out within their own knitting practices and learn, you know, what are the qualities of the animals that do well in your area. You know, like maybe merinos don't grow well. For me, I'm actually lucky. It is possible to grow merinos in Manitoba, or at least where I live in Manitoba. But the quality of that merino is very different from, you know, the superwash merino that you can buy at a lot of stores. So I'm really excited about where this can go. I'm also excited to just talk to other producers and hear about what they have to say. The very first interview is actually with a good friend of mine, Anna from Longway Homestead, and she and her family moved to rural Manitoba from Vancouver and have started up a farm in a very short period of time. So it's really cool also to be able to talk to farmers and hear their perspective and hear about the labor that goes into what they are doing and the expertise that goes into what they're doing. And then to kind of fill in all those gaps along the way to see, you know, what does it take to go from field to skin or from forest to skin? You know, what are all of those steps that create our clothing and create these things that we express ourselves with? I'm a queer femme, and I really strongly believe in expressing yourself through your clothing and through your image and through what you do with your body. And that nobody else gets to tell you what you do with your body. But I also really strongly believe in making conscious decisions. And so I'm hoping that this conversation also gets people talking about, you know, what's the privilege that is inherent in being able to make these kinds of decisions easily, and what does it mean if you live in a geographical space that has, you know, longer growing seasons and more producers versus living somewhere where it's more remote, you don't have as easy access. Food is a different situation, and your income levels are different. You know, all of those things impact what we are able to do. And it also, you know, our personal values impact that as well. For myself, I used to be vegan. I'm not anymore. But that was my personal decision. It was also better for my own health. But it was also because I believed that focusing on local and sustainable and ethically raised animals, especially where I need red meat in order for my body to function properly, you know, if I'm doing that rather than consuming tofu from soybeans that have been shipped from, you know, hundreds or thousands of miles away, and then produced in these large factories, and my body doesn't like soy, you know, so there's these allergens that you have to keep in mind when people are making decisions. So, but if you are vegan, then what does that mean when you live in an area where maybe there's not easy access to vegan fibers? Or maybe there actually are vegan fibers that are near you and you just didn't even know, because our fiber shed is so disconnected at this point. So I'm really hoping that it gets people talking about these things. It gets people kind of reevaluating their values and the reasons behind those values. You know, are you doing something because you truly believe in it, or are you doing something because it seemed like the right decision at one point and now it's just what you do? And is there anything that would make you change your mind or make you feel more strongly about what you believe, or maybe make you question what you believe? I think all of those things are good, and I think all of us learning and growing and evolving and doing it in a way that is holistic and does it together is a really great catalyst for changing our society and the way that we place weird values on things. So that's, maybe a bit of a pipe dream with this project, but I'm kind of hoping that, we kind of go somewhere with that. And so with that all in mind, support your local fiber farmer. This shirt is from Anna's store, and you can actually get one yourself if you want. There's also buttons and all the rest of it. But I'm really excited about the potential of being able to give a voice or give a platform to folks who are doing really amazing work and who I'm really inspired by, and I hope that you get inspired by them too. So you can follow along. It's on Instagram at From Field to Skin, or check out fromfieldtoskin.com. And then also you can check my stuff out, and I'm Sunflower Knit all over the interwebs. And so I hope that this seems exciting to you, and that you are excited to join me on this journey. Tell your friends, and let's see what we can do together. And if you are a fiber producer and you want to chat with me, please just give me a shout. I'd be more than happy to add you to the list. So that's where we're going to start. Thanks, everyone.